This might be the most controversial season of The Last of Us yet. Hang in there with us and let's talk about it. My name is King, and this is my partner, JC3. And you've landed on the Collard Greens Nerd page. And all we do here is talk about nerd content. So if you like that, tap in with us. All right, let's get the show started. G, what you think, man?
As you know, and most of you do not know who are watching this, I played the second Last of Us game, so I know what's going to happen. Throughout the course of not just the season, but for the entire show. Which they decided to kind of split up. They kind of split the game up into multiple seasons this time around. As far as what I think so far of this season, I'm pleasantly surprised that I don't hate it. I actually think it's pretty good so far. I say that just because, just to be completely honest, I do not like the second game. I love the game mechanics, but the story itself, I kind of have some issues with. Just, but overall, the season I think is pretty good. We've kind of only gotten half of it right now. It's good to see Pedro Pascal back, however brief, as our boy Joel. We got Bella Ramsey back as Ellie, along with some supporting cast members with Gabriel Luna playing Tommy, as well as Dina being played by actress Isabella, I believe her name is. And young Mazzino, who was on the Beef Show, he's also playing Jesse. So it's good seeing these characters, live action and seeing where they've been ever since Joel made the decision to save Ellie at the finale of last season, and just to see how the world's been lived in, how people have gotten worse, how times have gotten worse in a way. It's great to see the community of Jackson, and where they're at, but also tragic to see where they end up so far. Uh, we lose people, that's kind of the deal when it comes to this show. But we also gain a lot of perspective, I think, when it comes to how we would go about avenging people that we love. I think the best comparison would be like the first season dealt a lot with holding on to what you love. I think this season dealt with holding on to hate, and a lot of it for many reasons. We're also introduced to a new characters for that matter, but the main new character would be Abby, played by Caitlin Dever, I believe. I think she's done a good job so far of playing Abby. Uh, so again, surprisingly, I don't hate her. I actually like the way she's playing the character in the game. I did not like Abby at all. So it's good to see her story being filled out, and we're kind of getting differences between the game and the TV show of seeing how her story unfolds. But I actually like the way the TV show is explaining her story over how the game did. But so far, solid, good season, good action, good drama, lots of heartbreak, lots of heavy imagery that we see too. It's a wild ride, brother. What you think?
Man, so for me, I did not play the game. I've definitely watched the series and I've actually watched all the way through on some gameplay. So I do know what happens overall in the story, but I didn't get to play the game and go on that emotional roller coaster. So I know, the second game and what is going to be season 2 and 3 of the Last of Us show has some real controversial notes, especially regarding Abby and regarding, spoiler alert, going forward, the death of Joel. And so I was really trepidatious and not knowing what to think about how the second season was going to go. I love the first season, easily one of my favorite series, overall. But I think the thing that I really liked and learned that I liked was the show still had good pacing, and having conversations with you and a friend of ours that we work with. Um, it is doing a better job of explaining the backstory of these characters in the show better than it did in the game, and giving a little more depth to their characters. So I kind of really enjoyed this. It doesn't have the same side mission episodes that the first season did, where you get to really know other characters pretty in depth that you're not going to stay with, but you still get these stories. It kind of definitely sticks to the beats of the second game and the story kind of pushing it forward. But man, I mean, I really enjoyed it. Seeing Jackson again, seeing Abby's crew, see what Seattle kind of looks like. I mean, HBO does a good job of really like setting these big, big scenes and, um, the way it looks, the way it feels is amazing. There was a lot of tragedy in this show, and I mean, it really starts off quickly, which we'll get into right here. But it really starts off quick. But it's nice to see Joel and Abby again, or Joel and Ellie again after so long, and seeing what Jackson's doing. Their settlement's a little bit bigger and more fortified. But we find out all in all that's still not going to help from getting away from some of the tragedies that are going to befoot them regardless. So I really enjoyed this season. Overall, I think it's a great show. I'm curious to how they're going to tell the rest of the story from what we would assume would be Abby's uh, point of view. So I thought it was interesting for me that instead of telling Abby and Ellie's story side by side. They chose to spend most of this season telling Ellie's story, and then possibly what we would assume would be going back and then starting over and telling Abby's story from the same kind of time frame. And then maybe the show next season will end up where Abby and Ellie ended up in the end of the episode. So, what'd you think, man? What do you think? Let's get into the nitty gritty of the things, and tell me what were your favorite parts.
Favorite parts. I would say a lot of my favorite parts had to do with scenes between Joel and Ellie, or just a couple just standalone scenes with Joel. One of my favorite parts is something that the show actually added that the game didn't have was Joel's session with the therapist.
I was gonna say that.
Started, yeah, it was awesome just because we like in the game we sorry, obviously we know what he's done to save Ellie, but we really don't see the emotional toll that it's taken on him ever since that happened 5 years ago. So at that point when you're seeing him talk to the therapist, you see that it's not just Ellie in a way that has some disdain for him because she knows deep down that he's been lying to her. You also see that people like the therapist also don't personally don't like Joel just because of decisions that he's made to keep himself and his community alive. And you witness that from the therapist who straight up tells him, I hate you for killing my husband, and I hate the way that you did it. But hey, we're still here, and I'm still going to help you, Joel. So like, what aren't you saying? What aren't you telling me? What aren't you telling Ellie? And you could just tell by the look on his face that he's racked with conflict. Like he hates what he did, but he doesn't regret what he's done because when he says, I saved her, that's the end. You see the look on his face, like he does feel justified in what he did, despite the fact that he took away possibly humanity's only hope, for a cure to come back. So that was a great scene. I love that. I also love I love the scene that we got that it was actually the ending of the second game where it's another flashback episode between Joel and Ellie, where at first initially we think that when we see him on the porch tuning his guitar, we don't think that him and Ellie talk when she sees him, but then we come to find out that she comes back and they have a one-on-one conversation about what their issues are, and she's mainly telling him, like, I know that you lied, but I'm giving you the chance to tell me, like, right now, the truth, what you did. And that's something that we didn't get that conversation, that conversation specifically in the game. Ellie finds out his lie by other means, But in the show, we actually see him just tell her face to face what he did to actually save her. And then by the end, we see that there's still that there's resolution and that they are at least going to try to bury the hatchet and move forward, which makes his death, which happens later on, so much more heartbreaking because now we know that they were on a path to getting right with each other. Um, I would say one more scene that would be my favorite was the another scene, another moment that was not in the game, which was the ambush of the clickers coming to Jackson. That whole sequence of Abby running from all those clickers and all the infected was amazing. It was beautiful. Show looked awesome. Um, there were definitely similar beats from the game, like when she's crawling in the fence and the clickers and the runners are trying to get to her, all straight from the game. But as far as the clickers getting the Jackson and Jackson having to fight for themselves, we didn't get anything like that. So seeing that, seeing how they had the bloater look that was trying to kill everybody, including Tommy, along with that big flamethrower scene, that was that was excellent. And the bloater actually died the way that that they do in the game too. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, there were there were lots of good moments in this show. But what would you say were some favorite scenes of yours?
You know what's funny, man, is as we're going along here, I was thinking, man, you just took all the things I was thinking straight out of my head, man, which is great. Parallel thinking, right? Um,
For sure.
one of my favorite scenes definitely was the one you ended with, which is the scene where Abby goes from the cabin and she's starting to go down towards Jackson, and she inadvertently wakes up a bunch of sleeping clickers, runners, bloaters, and all kinds of different zombie undead. And man, that scene of them coming out of just the snow and a horde. This is the thing, man, there is no good way that them folks honestly could have survived with the amount of zombies that were coming. You know, at first it's
Oh,
like 25 and then it's like 200 barreling down on Jackson from the snow. I mean, what a scene. I mean, HBO does a good job of really setting this like tone and having these sweeping shots of the city and the snow and the I mean it was beautiful. And to see the kind of one to one of Abby scrambling as she kind of got down the hill with that fence that leaned over and her panic and the way that she runs into Joel, which is the exact same way. I mean, that was one heck of a scene. So that's easily one of my favorites. And then, just like you had mentioned, for me, when the show picks up, I'm so curious on why Ellie is so mad at Joel from the beginning, right? And I have an idea of why because I kind of know the backstory, but I was curious to why they chose to, not give us that story ahead of time, not knowing that that's the way it happened in the game. But she was so angry. And as we kind of went on and we had that great flashback episode, which was the second to the last episode, you really got to understand why she was so upset, and why she had been waiting so long for him to essentially admit what she knew in her heart. She didn't know out loud, but she knew in her heart that something wasn't right when it came to the Fireflies and her escaping that moment. Something wasn't right. Something happened that he was not explaining and that he would never give her the answer. And by the time he did, she was devastated. She felt like even though she understood that he loved her and he was trying to save her life, it kind of took her autonomy away. She kind of felt in season 1, which we saw her and the 2 brothers, she kind of felt like she was the savior of the world. She was the hero. And by killing everyone, all of the fireflies, that really took that away from her, and she didn't really get to feel like she was going to save everybody. Hope was essentially gone. And I kind of understood later that's why she was so upset. But the way that they did it in that conversation compared to what happens in the game and her, seeing a video or reading some letters or figuring out in other means, I mean, it was really, really, really impactful. So I'd say, to be honest, those are my two probably favorite moments. I mean, the show definitely has some great ones. But what I'm curious to hear about, since you've played the game, what are some moments that you just hated or didn't like, or your most unliked moments throughout the second season?
Well, obviously, Joel's death definitely hit home. That to be just completely totally honest, the second game traumatized me. It's been hard to go back to games ever since I played that, just because it was brutal. Seeing the way that Joel got beaten down, just again exactly the way that he did in the game. The only slight difference with how he dies in the game, she just hits his head with a golf club, and then boom, he's done. In the show, I believe there's she stabs him in the neck, and then he just goes silent. So that was, I hated seeing that. That was tough to see. Um, I would say another scene that I kind of just didn't really care for was just any scenes regarding Abby's people. Because we technically, because we really don't know them yet. We will know them, I'm sure, in the next season, but that's kind of a thing that the show and the game are gonna have tried to get you to do already. Like, they want you to feel something, not just for Abby, but for the people that she's with. Um, and I just, for me, it's like when you spend majority of your time with just two characters and you grow to love them and you know their story. To me, it doesn't really matter why the other people did what they did. It matters, but at the same time, it's like I love my Joel and Ellie, and now you've taken Joel. So to me, it's like I don't care for any of your plights, any of your thoughts. Like, you just have to go. But honestly, that's kind of what the show is in the game is trying to show you, how far should you go to for hate? How far should you go for revenge? It's like a cycle of violence. Like, how far are you willing to go until you either destroy yourself or just stop the cycle? So I would say that was really the only things I really didn't like too much about it. Also, uh, Bella Ramsey is a very good actress, lover. I think she was a great young version of Ellie, in the first season, but we've gotten like 5 years now, and she's supposed to be older. But I don't think based off her acting as the character, that she showed much maturity. Just in regards to how far she's come, and how much she's grown. I didn't see too much growth, right, at least for right now in the season. We see her get physical, which is good, but it's just her reactions to not wanting to see Joel, not and not really wanting to give most people the time of day except for Dana. I really didn't buy it too much sometimes. Still great acting, but there were just moments I didn't see the maturity, I'd say. But other than that, those would be my only really gripes with the season. Also with it just being, we're getting half the season, so that I guess that would be the last thing. We've only gotten half the story, and we're gonna get more of it the next season. And I'm actually kind of intrigued to see where that goes, because it looks like the third season might mostly be through Abby's perspective, and I feel like it's gonna be very controversial, because it's gonna be one of those things of the season will be successful if you like Abby. If you don't like Abby, then we might hear more backlash on her character later on. But were there any issues that you had with this particular season?
So for me, as someone, I'm always going to come from this perspective of like not playing the game. My biggest thing was I did not expect Joel to, excuse me, I did not expect Joel to die so quickly. And it definitely was brutal. So that was, a little disappointing. Like I get that that is the story's narrative. I just would have liked a little more time with Pedro Pascal, one of my favorite actors, and is incredible in this show. So I really wanted a little more time with him. And you get that kind of through flashbacks, but we could have got that in some real time if they would have, since we're going to go into a season 3 already and we're going to slow that down. I wish we had just a tad bit more time with his character being alive. And what I really liked was seeing how he walked around the city, and interacted with different people, which we're probably not going to get too much of because, like you said, the next part of the story's got to focus more on Abby because we've got to talk about, her crew. We've got to talk about the scars. We've got to talk about, you know, the relation in Seattle and what they're doing. So, I mean, if the movie or show was smart, it would definitely focus more on that side. Um, but I realized that's gonna be the most controversial portion of this, which this show already had a bit of its controversies, and a lot of people, unfortunately, seem to have dropped out, of watching the show kind of halfway through because, like you said, the second game um, didn't live up to people's expectations or hopes. And watching Joel die so early in the game after, like you said, you spent so much time with that character that it was kind of devastating. So we'll see really what the next season and next piece of the story will do. I think for pet peeves or things that annoyed me, I think that was probably the only thing is I really wanted more Pedro Pascal in the show. And, I think his character was really good. And it was just sad that it happened so quickly. I would have expected it to last a couple more episodes. But I'm curious to see what they're going to do because, like you were saying, and mentioning is we have a whole lot more story to tell, definitely from Abby's perspective and what's going on. There's a big backstory between the two warring factions in Seattle that we really haven't delved into too far yet. So I'm really curious to see whether the third season is going to live up to the hype that even the second season did. So, what are you looking forward to going forward, or was there some spots that we haven't really talked about that were like, "Oh my god."
Well, one thing that I definitely want to comment on is you saying that you just wanted more Joel, more Pedro Pascal. Honestly, that's what everybody, I believe mostly everybody that played the game, that's what we said. Like we wanted more time with Joel in the game. You you really, yeah, you only play him in the game for like maybe a good 20 minutes, half an hour. You really don't even play as his character for a long time before he dies, and then the rest of the time that you see him again is all through flashbacks. So it's very, it's for me, it's intriguing, also a little therapeutic, honestly, just to see people who haven't played the game look at this show and echo the same things that us people that did play the game were saying, like we wanted more of this, we could have done that. um I will say as well that I do like the way that the show has introduced Abby's character more in the TV show more than the game, just because at least you know her motives of why she's doing it. And for TV audience members, like knowing that could get you on board with her next season, as opposed to the game where she just kills Joel and you don't know why. You don't know what he's done. You don't know who she is, who her people are, anything. And so by the time the game tries to get you on board with Abby, I, a lot of people did, myself included, didn't care. It's like to me, I don't care about your story because you've already killed somebody that I love. At least with the show, you know her reasons already. So you might be able to get on board with her later on. As far as oh my God moments that we missed out on, Jesse getting shot in the cheeks, one of them. You know, our boy got taken out pretty quick. The way they set
Quick.
that up, though, I got yeah, very quick. I gotta say, it was a little telegraphed the way they did it. You know, like what you usually say, like for the third or fourth time, like I have to live, I have to make it. You think you're gonna make it?
Nah, bruh.
I don't think so. So yeah, that was a bit of a shocking, and not shocking. I knew it was gonna happen. Like it happened the same way that it did in the game, but just it did feel a bit more intense though. I will say that. Uh, Another bright spot I think we should mention is our boy Jeffrey Wright, playing the character Isaac in the show.
Love
I
him.
really love him, love him. He's amazing. I like that that the show is giving his character more backstory than the game did. We see things through his perspective, how he views the world the way it is, the Fireflies and their situation. We see what he thinks of the Seraphites and what he's willing to do to the Seraphites to get information out of them is wild. It's crazy. We didn't get any of that in the game. So it's good to expand upon his character. Also, got to say shout out to Josh Peck just because he had a little cameo in the episode that Jeffrey Wright was in, so it was cool to see him. Uh, Other than that, any other spots? I would definitely have to say a bright spot for me was the again the flashback episode with Joel and Ellie when he's taking her out for her birthday and she gets to be an astronaut for a day. That whole episode honestly was probably just my favorite episode of the whole entire season, just because you felt the heart and it made you feel like a warmness right here, opposed to majority of the show you're just feeling like sadness, hate, anger. um Also, another speaking of hate and anger, one spot I will say I really liked is the scene where Ellie has one of Abby's people down where, in an infected room, like full of spores, you know, and she's breathing all those spores in. But we all know that Ellie is, you know, is immune, and we just get that red lighting exactly from the game, and we just have that red lighting engulfing Ellie, just kind of showing all that hate that she has, and what we see what she's willing to do to get information out of Abby's people just to see where Abby is. So it like definitely again bright spots, nice spots in the game. Solid start. I would say a solid season overall since we just got half of it. But I'm very intrigued to see where we go from here. As controversial as this season has been, I do believe that the next season will be just as, if not more, controversial. And if we do get even a fourth season, uh, that has me intrigued as well. Because if we do get a fourth season, that kind of has me think that the whole season, the whole third season, is going to be about Abby. And if that's the case, we're going to see what people have to say. Quick question for you: do you think that Caitlin Dever, who plays Abby, you think she's going to get tuned up, a little buffed up for the role? You think she's going to stay the same?
Okay, I hope not. Like, I hope that she maybe lifts like a little bit, but you know, Abby in the game was swole and like way too swole, bro. Way too swole. Like she was shooting in the gym and she didn't miss a day, bro. She
Nope.
raided every GNC and took all the creatine out, bro. She was way too buff and way too buff to be having these kind of intimate moments with people that we watch. It was very interesting. So I hope they don't go that buff with her. I hope they keep her, you know what I mean, fit and ready to go, but not like the game, man. Not like the game. Uh
I agree.
you know, that was a little I'm still right now curious to what the game designers like what they were going for in that moment because they did not have to choose that CGI model for for Abby. So I think you're right though. Um if they do Abby the entire time next season and give us that, we could easily go into a fourth season and to conclude up the whole story. Because, like you said, there's a lot of story with the Seraphites and Isaac and their battle between each other. And what Isaac is willing to do to get information and what the Seraphites are willing to do through their religious beliefs. So, I mean, the show can go on for a minute, and I think that's good. I think what we'll do here is we'll probably do another episode talking about the back to backs and what looks good and where we think things are going to go. I mean, as controversial as this season is, and probably the next one was, I'm excited. And I think it's worth watching. And I hope that our viewers are watching along with us and comment and tell us what you guys really thought of this. What was the more controversial moments for you guys? So I think that's what my thoughts are so far for this season.
I'm right there with you. I feel like the best part about watching this show is just watching the events play out the way that like I knew they were, but at the same time seeing slight differences that the show did to have me understand characters more, relate to characters more, see characters in a different light than I did in the game. So it's a good ride so far. I'm just hoping that they continue to do more character development with Abby and her people to where I can care enough about them. So by the time her people die, I'm like, oh Ellie, why'd you do that? Like, come on, like that. Come on, I get it, but I like them now. That's kind of what I'm hoping. I'm hoping because in the game, again, I did not care. I did not care whatsoever. It's like if you were one of Abby's people, it's on site. It's on site. Like we're here now. You're done. I don't care what your plight is. I don't care. It is what it is. But in the show, they could change that. So I hope that that's what they do. Um, it sucks because I don't know if we're gonna get more Pedro. I don't know if there's more flashbacks to give or tell unless they just decide to add them themselves. I hope that we do still get him because he was really great as Joel. Uh, but yeah, just based off where we've left things in the second season, like they if they wanted to just conclude his story right here, they could because technically that's what the game did. So hoping for the best, but I am preparing for the worst. Just because in the next season, I'm pretty sure they might show the main scene in the game that had me almost just stop playing. Because the best one of the things about the differences between the TV show and the game, the TV show, I'm just watching events happen. I'm not actually playing it. In the game, you do things, and the game makes you do some things that you just don't want to do. So that's the benefit of watching the show. It can't do that to me or any of us that played it, guys. It can't do it to us. So I think we should just keep trotting forward, enjoy this good quality television that we're getting because it is good quality television. It's very nice. HBO is doing a fantastic job, and I cannot wait for next season. The only thing I'll leave off with is use your golf clubs for golfing, okay? For golfing. Or unless there's a post apocalyptic thing that happens that you could use it as a weapon, sure. But we live in the real world. Use it for golfing, okay? Leave people's heads alone. R.I.P. Joel. That's all I got, man. I'm hurt. I'm like, I got traumatized by this game, guys. I told you. Like,
Well, with that being said, man, everyone, we want to appreciate everyone who's been following along with us. We see the views, we see you guys on TikTok. If you guys haven't yet, please join us on TikTok and Instagram. uh Collie Greens TV is the link for everything. Follow me and JC3. We're always posting crazy content and stuff, and we appreciate everybody showing up and showing out here and showing us love. So if you're a fan of Last of Us or nerd content, just tap in, and we're already gonna be here dropping more bombs for you. And coming up here in the future, we've got Jurassic Park, we've got Superman, we've got Fantastic Four. So we have a lot of great content coming out in the next month or so. So stay tuned, man. We appreciate everybody, and thank you uh, for being listeners and followers.
yes, guys. Thank you for all the love. Thank you for all the support. We appreciate it. Thank you for sticking along with us. We got more stuff coming, like my man said. And yo, as always, y'all stay nerdy. We'll see you later.